Hello, everybody. This is Maniac 4Bricks with a little extra something here. I thought it might be fun to try doing a little video about this, even though it's an Instagram story, because it's a whole bunch of parts of the Instagram story that go together for a specific purpose, and that is to determine what is real Lego. What does it mean if you define what something is Lego or something is not Lego? For me, it's actually very challenging because in a historical, brand aware perspective, a lot of things are Lego. But when colloquially people think of Lego, they think of only one type of that larger group. You know, it's a long-standing one. It's one that is shared by millions and is, very common to find, but not the only one that Lego still develops. I mean, even to this day, Lego is still doing things outside of what we know as Lego system. Your typical Lego bricks, the ones that your parents, your grandparents grew up with, the ones been around since the 50s and still widely available today. The ones that are compatible with minifigures. That's a specific kind of figure that Lego creates, but there's many other ones that they've done over time, whether or not compatible with system. The things that people know, the building blocks. Lego, yes, is about different toys. It's mostly focused on building toys, but is not solely about it. So the Instagram user HB Bricks 1985 is someone who's well acquainted with Lego System, Lego Technic, Lego Bionicle, several different types of Lego. And he had this Instagram story to share. I'm going to give my responses with it and again, try to talk through this process. And just because you see Lego in a certain way does not make it inherently wrong, but we'll see how this story plays out. So I need to go back to the beginning of it. I have not answered any of the questions up to this point. So the first one here is a wooden duck. Is this real Lego? Well, this duck was made by Lego in the 1930s. It is made of wood. It is not compatible with today's bricks. It is just made to only be a duck that you can pull along and the beak moves. It's hand painted in all different kinds of composition. You could say it's not Lego System, but it is from the Lego brand. It is still a toy fundamentally. So I would say yes. Lego is a toy company, much like there's Mattel and there's Hasbro and plenty of other companies out there. And those toy companies don't always have to specify what type of toy or only focus on that. They can always, dance around, branch other things. Hasbro, dozens and dozens of kinds of toys. And they're not all the same thing. You have action figures, you have Nerf blasters, you have board games, and many more. That's the same company, though. Is this real Lego? So this is a little bit more of your traditional automatic binding bricks. These are ones that don't have the tubes underneath them. They can stack together. They, create structures. You can create models out of them. You can still do that with today's Lego bricks, and I think these might still be compatible. So, yes. They are still made by Lego. That is also a key thing. Is this real Lego? These are Lego Duplo. These are larger than your average Lego System bricks by, I think, twice the size. And they are compatible with them. They also have their own system for building and stacking and, different features that each of them can offer and have been around for a long time. But again, they are still made by the same Denmark company. So I would say yes. Is this real Lego? It's weird. Yes, it's not your traditional kind of Lego. It's electronic, it's oddly shaped, but it is still compatible. You can still actually add Lego bricks all around this thing. They actually have a whole bunch of them for the ears, the hat, and the buttons for the overalls. And on the bottom of the feet, they attach to Lego studs. On the hands actually have clips in them, so you can attach them to bar elements, much like minifigures can hold. So I would again say yes. This would be in the same sphere to me as Mindstorms, where it is able to connect with Lego pieces. It has electronic functions, but it is made to go in tandem with Lego pieces to make those functions really work. Which is something that's been around for over 20 years, almost 30 years at this point. So, yes. Is this real Lego? Okay, here's where it hits a bit harder. Because now we're talking about something that Lego developed, Lego built, they made these, they manufactured these, they sold them in 2002, and it flopped because people didn't consider it as real Lego. People did not buy it because it wasn't what they knew of Lego. Lego logos were still on the box from front to back. They were semi-compatible with standard, again, system Lego pieces, and even some Technic ones, because you have Technic pins in there for each of the limbs and some of the accessories. The feet sometimes are compatible with Lego system, which I'm, again, not saying is like, I mean, I know I've been saying up to this point, but it's like, well, it's not like they're completely different. They still say Lego on the elements themselves, that they are, developed by the same company. They are still a toy. These are action figures, and they're interchangeable action figures, so they still have that building mindset that many Lego products do. I would still consider this Lego. I am happy to put this in my Lego room. I still have a whole shelf worth of Galador figures. That's what this is from, Galador. I still have a shelf's worth of Galador figures sitting in between other Lego displays. So, no, I don't want the ad. Yes. Is this real Lego? I was literally just sitting right next to this in my apartment. My roommate built this. He was perfectly fine with it. He used to build Lego as a kid. And he was happy seeing this in Target while we were looking for some things, some incidentals. And he decided to buy this and build this on his own. I did not persuade him. I think he already knew that it was different from the Lego he grew up with. And I remember that we talked about it a little bit on one of our Spit It Out podcasts. So I said that it's Technic. It's a more advanced form of Lego, but it is still, the same kind of building structure. It has a different kind of system to it in that it's more pin and axle oriented, but many other Lego system pieces do. I mean, heck, Lego Technic, when it started out in the 70s, late 70s, had what we know today as system pieces. Like, you had studs all the way around on them. Now it's a lot more smoothed out, but it still uses those. Even those headlights that you see on the Jeep are the same as you would find in a boat set or, any other standard Lego set. You have the floodlights on top of the car that are, just 1x1 studs. You have the Rubicon part of it that's a tile, a 1x6 tile. So this is still Lego to me because you are still building it. It is, again, manufactured from Denmark and it is from Lego itself. You are still getting a building experience out of this. The compatibility is a bonus, and yeah, this is definitely Lego. This is a toy. It's a model, but it is still a toy. It's made to move and function like other Jeep toys could. Even this real Lego. All right, so here we go. Again, really good questioning here. And this is honestly, the more and more people debate back and forth about stuff like this, and I'm not just saying HB himself, but I'm saying in the community at large, especially when the 90th anniversary stuff has been a thing, and this is kind of what it's leaning into, I feel. Bizarre Lego is a book that I've been writing for quite some time. But the key thing about it is, even though there are some really outrageous things or things that didn't last or, whatever the case may be, they were still from the same company we know and love. I mean, I still have things like Galador Clickets, that's what this one is, and other things that aren't compatible with your modern day system that are incorporated in the book. It is still Lego. It's not bizarre. We don't talk about it because it's not actually a Lego. I just call it Bizarre Lego because it's from the company. It's what they tried. It doesn't mean it had to work, but is still honoring a part of their history. Every company at some point has to do experimentation, try something in a different direction, whether it's as a dire strait or just to try something new. And they've been doing that for a long time. They still do that. The building block system was the exact same thing. I mean, they started out making them wooden, and they said, "Oh, what if we try this new, injection molding process and using them in plastic?" Because they had several they had several fires in their warehouses that would lose a lot of inventory, not just from the structure itself collapsing, but also they're made of wood. Wood burns easily. So, I mean, it's in the process of let's be more innovative, let's try something different, and something that might actually help in the long run, especially with, this bad luck that they've had. And financially, yeah, it was an investment. The same way that Galador is an investment. The same way Clickets right here is an investment. The same way Super Mario is an investment. So, I would say yes, this is real Lego. Okay, I don't need this call right now. I've got a whole bunch of robocalls lately, so I know that it's another one of those. So let's see. Is this real Lego? People have actually used this in Lego models with your system, with your Technic, with whatever. So it is somewhat compatible. That's a bonus. Is it a building system? Like what Lego is mainly known for? Yeah, because you are actually assembling these things to make accessories or photo frames or jewelry stands, the same way that Lego Dots is. Is this a toy? Yeah. It's not high quality accessories that are going to last a long time. They're just made for play more often than for fashion, for style. Sometimes you could incorporate it into style, but it's on a lower level, I would say. If I am contradicting myself at any time during this video, please let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to either correct it or try to explain it. Is this real Lego? Okay, this one actually does have real system pieces in there. It is, let's see, we'll break it down again. Is it a toy? Yes, it is a toy. It is a video game. You actually move the pieces around. The genre of video game it belongs to is called Toys to Life, in which you take a standard figure-esque toy and electronically connect it into a game so that you can play with that in the game itself. That's the main premise of Toys to Life. You have Skylanders, you have Amiibo, you have PlayMotion, several different kinds, and even more that I can't even think of. Even old ones, like in the thousands. I remember UB Funky's probably the first experience I've had with that kind of genre, and it didn't even have that name. It was a more like 2015 or so name, 2013 maybe. So let's see from here. Is this real Lego? It is a toy. Video games are classified as toys in most people's minds, as opposed to other types of media, other types of entertainment. And when it's oriented towards a learning experience or for a younger audience, it's a tricky thing, because I know there are plenty of video games that aren't for education and aren't for younger audiences. But this itself, this particular Lego set, this particular Lego video game, yes. Is it a building experience? Yes, you put together each of the pieces themselves. It actually shows you while playing the video game how to assemble everything. They give you digital instructions for many of the models, not just ones in here, but also in other packs compatible with it. It is compatible with system and therefore, a larger building database. Yeah, I would call this real Lego. Again, I have a LEGO Dimensions display from GameStop. Thank you to Brickblaze for providing that. That is sitting in my LEGO room. That is sitting among other LEGO items. And when I put this in with LEGO games, it doesn't stand out too greatly, even if it's a whole bunch of boxes of the figures and the toy pads and accessories and gadgets and whatever. It is real Lego. This is again another case of Lego having an experiment. Here we go. I knew this had to come up at some point. Is this real Lego? Is it a toy? Yes. You are making a toy plane, car, forklift, bike, whatever. Is it a building experience? As I just said, yeah. You are building each of these things out of small parts. The parts can be interchanged so that you can build other things out of them. I have this particular Technic set. Snapstead. I said Technic at first because it does remind me of Technic more than System, but it is still its own unique thing. The resemblance to System would be minimal. There are only a couple pieces that are actually compatible with System, according to this, and they're basically the 9-volt motor and the motor cage, and not much else. Maybe like a couple of pins. You have Technic pins in here, you have Technic axles in here, but it is still its own connection system between most of the pieces. It's as most people have said, and most people have theorized, it is closely resembling K'NEX on purpose. And K'NEX is not the same system as Lego. They have a lot of the pieces where it's like easier to fit them sideways into a place and even turn them around than it is to literally stack them one on top of the other. So, yes, this is still real Lego. There isn't a voting option here, so I'm just going to add that as a comment. Yes, no voting option is available. Is this real Lego? So as I mentioned earlier about Clickets, dots are basically the modern day Clickets. I mean, if you really, I said notice that. Okay. I still wanted to throw my hat in the ring. It's fine. I totally understand if he was making a whole bunch of these, it might be easy to forget that. So, Clickets, dots, and Scala are some of the main accessory systems from Lego. They are still on the toy aspect because of how they are buildable, playable, colorful, that they are able to, mix and match with each other. They're not going to be as high quality or long lasting as real jewelry, and that's fine, I'm not expecting that. They are made by Lego itself, just like Snap was, and many of the other things we talked about. These do share commonality with System, that you can use the same pieces from Lego System sets into this. I've seen people build this into other MOCs where they actually have something that wraps around a structure in a way that other Lego System pieces haven't, or in a curvature that other pieces haven't. So, yes, this is real Lego. Is this real Lego? Absolutely. The mini dolls are a controversial thing pretty much for the past 10 years. People don't like mini dolls. Most people enjoy minifigures. But all the structures that are built around mini dolls are also compatible with minifigures. You can easily take the same exact models. You don't have to change a thing about them to make them compatible with minifigures. People might try to quote-unquote normalize them by taking out the lavenders, the bright pastel colors, the magentas, the pinks, and make it less quote-unquote girly. I'm fine with it. A bunch of them are actually perfectly fine as they are. Some of my I enjoy Lego Friends sets. I've been playing with Lego Friends sets pretty much since they came out. I've bought them on occasion, the same way that I've bought City on occasion. And they're also a good counterpart to City because they offer a lot of things that Lego City does not. They offer things that Creator does not. There are different styles of buildings or different subjects of buildings that if you put them in Lego City, if you put them in Creator, if you put them in Creator Expert with the modular series, people wouldn't really get interested in them, or there might not be a lot of structure to it. I have on occasion been like, why isn't there a city equivalent of this? But then I realized, well, having one at all is perfectly fine. I've learned a lot since then. So, like, if Lego Friends had a city pool, why don't we have a regular pool? Or if we do, it's in Creator and it's really small. You can barely fit a minifig in there or something like that. But the fact that Lego, as a system and in the system line, has created a pool is perfectly fine. Even if it has a couple more colors to it, even if you have a heart shaped out of flowers, it's not that bad. And again, the essence of it, it's Lego. It's Lego system. This is, something that is fundamentally for interchangeable building toy, building blocks. If you wanted to make something different out of this, you can. But there's no reason to complain about it out of the box being this way if it's not the subject or color scheme that you want it to be, because you can make it the subject or color scheme that you want it to be. Many people have transformed official Lego sets into what they wanted them to be, whether by color or shape or size. Oh, so many people will take the modular buildings, and this is perfectly fine for them to do. Many people will take the modular buildings and triple the size of them, or even double the size of them. If they feel like it, go for it. I don't see anything wrong with that, if that's what they're into. So is this real Lego? It is made by Lego. It is a toy. You have interaction between the dolls and different parts, different accessories. You can actually change the hairs on them. Yes. Is this, it's a building system. As I mentioned many times, it's from the Lego system. Yeah, this is fine. This is a toy. This is Lego. Is this real Lego? All right. So I mentioned Scala earlier when I was talking about dots and clickets. Scala is the old form of not only the jewelry, accessory kind of toys that Lego created, but also the dolls. This would take place before Belleville, and much longer before Friends. So this is it a toy? It is a doll, and similar size of dolls would be, created. You can rearrange them, dress them on, add accessories with them. They use system parts in here. If you look at the flowers closely, is it buildable? No. Much like in Galador, it's very limited on how compatible it is with other systems. Is it compatible in its own system? Not as much. It is made by Lego, and you can already see the Lego logo on there. Yeah, I think this still counts as real Lego because it is made by Lego, it is a toy, and it's not very buildable, but it may not have to be. Not every toy needs to have built-in compatibility, even in Lego itself. It's what they're known for, it's what they're prided for, but it's not the only thing that they've done. Like I said in the beginning, when we had the wooden duck, it wasn't buildable. It was already constructed when you bought it. So you only had one function for it. That was to roll it around. But it's a toy. And toys can have very specific functions. Toys can be made for specific things. A rolling duck like that could still be made to this day from another company. Maybe not exactly the same style or subject, but a rolling pole toy, still exists. Much like these, there are still dolls. Mattel still makes Barbies, of course. So they serve a very particular function. How they pose, how they're role played, again, mixing outfits and accessories with them for different occupations, Yes, it is real Lego. Even this. All right, so I mentioned Belleville. Again, I feel like a lot of this is going to come back around. Belleville is like if you reduced Scala and added more building structure to it. And before Friends. Like Friends on a larger scale. They're posable. They work like, again, the regular style of dolls. Um, the dolls can actually come apart. That's another thing. I actually own a Belleville set. And I've owned a Belleville set not just because I was a Lego historian or anything. I've owned a Belleville set roughly since I was 10 or so. Maybe a little older than that. I don't remember exactly when, but I had one growing up. And I was fine with it. I willingly played with that thing. And and all the pieces in it went to other things. Some of the pieces were found in other themes in general. So I had no problem with that. It actually fits better in scale with all the accessories than minifigures. But I digress. Um, Again, you get a building experience out of this one. Yes, it is a toy experience because you have a dollhouse roleplay kind of play, and the fact that you build it yourself. You have it made by Lego itself. The Lego system is on the box. It's not a term that they always use, like, publicly, but, or should I say, as frequently as putting it on the box like that, but that is what it means. System refers to the standard, long-running style of Lego that people know it for. I don't know why it became a thing on the boxes or why it got repealed, but I'm sure that internally they still use that as a term. Lego system, system bricks, that kind of thing. This is real Lego to me, even if the fabrics are in there, even if you have unorthodox pieces in, large prefab forms. It is still something you can build and rearrange. It is something you can play with the dolls, the baby. Again, all these different parts of the bedroom. Yes. Is this what you call Lego? This one is a little less familiar to me, but still, I think I've seen this in passing. And I don't know how to pronounce that, so I won't try. But this looks like an early form of dots. I don't know exactly if that's the intent, but that's what it gives me right off the bat. It gives me the vibe of that. It is also system-based. Keep that in mind. I would presume that this is a toy. But here, that's actually the interesting thing about a lot of these. I know a lot of these types, but not everybody who's, seeing this on Instagram probably doesn't. I mean, stop with the ad. I don't want to swipe over to it. Give me one moment. I'm going to briefly look it up to learn for myself what Halsketi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is about. Okay, computer, work with me. Today, computer, I just used you like minutes ago. Come to think of it, if this seems obscure enough, I might actually be inclined to put this into Bizarre Lego because if I really knew of it, it would have already been in there. Let's see. It's still waiting to bring up a search result. I would presume, especially even by the photography and the outline of this thing, that it's made by Lego. It has tiles that are buildable, interchangeable, and therefore created by Lego. There's not a... I wonder where they found this picture, because even Bricklink doesn't have a listing for them. All the sites that I'm seeing on here, Pinterest, a lot of them, eBay once or twice. Some of them do describe them as jewelry. Necklace. Right. Maybe the word hascate means jewelry in another language. I'm going to try an image search, and yet again, it's giving me a lot of jewelry that's made using Lego bricks, especially the heart-shaped ones. It asks me in the beginning to translate the page. So, again, even though I don't know of this particular aspect of Lego, I can still recognize that it's buildable, it's toy-based. That even those, I don't know if they're tubes or thread or something more flexible, but it's not of the same threshold as metal jewelry. Chain jewelry. Something you would find like a Lord and Taylor kind of thing. It's a kid-based, toy-based version of it. So I would say this is Lego. And I'm going to let him know I never knew this existed. My catchphrase. Oh boy, here we go. So what I said earlier, that Lego has many different systems, and Lego has many different types of figures, even compatible in the same system bricks. This one is what I thought of. And much like Belleville, this is something that is compatible with your standard system Lego bricks. Something that can hold, accessories. Oh, he says it's Scala. I wonder why I couldn't find it before. Alright. I grew up with Jackstone. I grew up with Galador. I willingly bought them or asked for them as gifts as a kid. I found nothing wrong with them. I played with them. I changed them around. Jackstone as a figure is not that changeable. Scala 2 is their weird Belleville things. Gotcha. So, Jackstone itself is not an interchangeable figure. Does that have to be? I don't think so. You can't really build or customize on the figure itself. All the pieces are already pre-attached. I know some people have been able to take off hats and possibly heads on the Jackstone figures. I don't know if there were any reasonable means to do so, because I've tried to just pull at them by bare hands and never, separated the pieces. They're made in a way that's supposed to be together. So you can actually use this with studs. Each foot would stand on roughly the same space as a 1x2. You can still use these. It's the same connection system as minifigure hands. It's still the same size. There are many Lego system-based pieces in there. Is it a toy? Yes. Is it made by Lego? Yes. Is it part of a building system? Yes. Again, these all check the boxes that I can find, and maybe I have a broad perspective when it comes to identifying something as real Lego. But I know that the company is a toy company, and I know that they are always trying different things. Even if something seems standard, even if some things are long-lasting, it doesn't mean it's the only thing that they've ever done. So Jackstone is yes. No, stop. I keep holding the screen. I'm holding my thumb on the screen so that I can pause and talk about it before it goes away, because these usually last a couple seconds. And when I move it a little bit back and forth, that's why that ad keeps happening. Is this real Lego? Now we're getting to where I know it's getting to. And I already knew they didn't mention up to this point, because that's the it's kind of the thesis. So, this is from Ben 10. I'm not familiar too much with Ben 10 as the show, but I know of it. I know it's been long running. I know that it's been, kid based. That it's story driven. It's got a lot of things. Lego in 2010 created a whole bunch of sets partnered with Ben 10 licensed sets that are all action figures. They are buildable, yes. They are from Lego itself, yes. They are toys. They are action figures. You can make any of these parts into another creature. You can buy this creature twice and make it larger or more pronounced. You can use these pieces with other pieces in other systems. This is in what they know as CCBS, which stands for Creature Character Building System. This is a little more foreign than what standard Lego system stuff is. But Lego System does have that. They do have pieces that are compatible with these. They do have pieces that borrow the same ball and socket joint system for the other models. They just have more studs on them. You could actually add Lego pieces onto this thing if you wanted to. Any of those holes that you see is the size of a bar, which is, the standard minifigure accessory kind of thickness. So yeah, I would definitely say, actually the end of his tail looks like a bar element too. So you could clip things onto it. So can you take this apart and build it into other stuff? Absolutely. I have a bunch of extra Ben 10 pieces that don't create a whole figure, and I can build them into other stuff if I wanted to. I have some that are complete figures, and it is still something that I would consider on the bizarre side of Lego because of the short-lived license. Because it was only for not even 10 of the aliens. It was maybe 6 or 7 of them. And it was in the direction of a new system for Lego, the CCBS. I don't know if it was exactly the first. I have to check again how that compared to Hero Factory, but common pieces were shared amongst the two. Is this real Lego? Yes. Are these guys Lego? As I just mentioned, we had Ben 10, and then we had Hero Factory in this order. So literally the same thing can be said. Are these toys? Yes, these are action figures. So you can move them around. You can pose them. Not this particular wave of them, but other waves you do have actual functions like that can fire. So more than just the static posing and role play of the figures. But yes, you can still play with them because they are toys. Is this made by Lego? Yes, they are. In fact, other companies have tried to replicate these after the fact and make knockoff Lego out of them. Do these have a building system? Yes, they do. You can take these apart. You can mix and match the pieces. In fact, the silver guy that you see, Bulk, has the black figures accessory used in another set. So he can carry 2 of them. I have that set. It's called Bulk and Vapor. And it's a souped up version of the silver character Bulk. So, yes. You can mix and match the pieces between each other with other systems of Lego pieces. You can use this with Technic. You can use this with, I'll mention it a little bit. You can use this with Ben 10. You can use this with a whole bunch of things. You could technically, I see what I did there. Any of the axle points on Technic parts also can accept a bar element, which is usually associated with Lego System. Any of the Technic holes can adapt to a stud, which is in the Lego System. They have a building system themselves, and they have a building system that's shared with others, and these are still playable. Yeah. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. I'm running around saying the same thing over and over again. And here we go. Is finally Bionicle Lego. I don't think I need to say it. I will say it, but I think you already know after every point that I've run down from all the other Lego themes, after the basis that I present for something being Lego, of course, absolutely. These are toys. These are action figures. They have gear functions to them, so they can actually move, a little bit more than just the standard posing. They have masks that can be knocked off and traded with each other to create different styles. These have a building system that is shared amongst each other, and Bionicle, when it started out, was considered a subline of Technic. Just like how the DS is a subline of Game Boy Advance, or Game Boy, when it started out, I should say. The DS became its own thing in Nintendo later, but I digress. It's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, we're trying something different, and if it doesn't work out, it's fine because we still have the mainline stuff going. That's what I was trying to get to. That was the comparison. But Technic and Bionicle did exist for many years, interchangeably, cohesively, and with system. There were Bionicle sets that were made with system parts. There were system sets made with Bionicle parts. They are compatible across the board. I bet you can find a way to make this even compatible with Snap and maybe even Clickets. I bet there are ways to do that. It's like a family tree. You have a whole bunch of it spreading out, but you still know that they are in some ways connected. Some a little less than others, but they still work. They still interact. You can adapt this. You can adapt Bionicle pieces with Galador and vice versa. It may not be the prettiest thing. It may not be the best looking thing, but they still interact. They still connect. It is a toy. It is made by Lego. It is made in-house by Lego. Bionicle, for many kids, nobody even thought they were made by Lego. It says it on the box. It says it in the commercials. New Lego Bionicle. You would see the logo in the commercials. But many kids, in their minds, associated this separate from Lego because of what they thought Lego was. It's just the system. It's just the bricks. It's just that building experience. Look, I'm not saying Lego is the only building toy thing out there. But at least give credit where credit is due that they tried something different. And it worked. Galador didn't work. Clickets only worked for a little while. Billville and Scala, they worked for a little while, but eventually were dropped. Bionicle was much the same way. An action figure series that's interchangeable parts, that is compatible with other systems, and had its own thing going on, but did not have to stand the test of time. It stood a long time, though. 12 years. I know people are saying now, celebrating this year as the 20th anniversary of Bionicle. Yes, it is 20 years since the Bionicle theme was released. But an anniversary usually dictates on something that's continuously happening. You're not going to celebrate your anniversary to your ex-wife because you're not with her anymore. Nope. No, I was just thinking out loud. I know it does sound like I'm on the phone. So, at full stop, this is Lego. This is a perfect example of Lego. This is an example of a long-running series of Lego. This is an extension of an existing series of Lego that's still produced to this day. And Lego still works with it. You could take a brand new Lego set and adapt it with this. Some parts better than others, of course, but compatible nonetheless. Yes. This concludes my questions. Results will come soon or something. I just noticed I forgot to add the poll for Zam. Okay, you already acknowledged that. All good. Epilogue. Yes. Here we go. So the point of this is how people in the 90th anniversary poll were saying that Bionicle should not have been an entry because it's not real Lego. And there's been a stigma against Bionicle for many years, probably since its birth, honestly, that it was not Lego, that it did not represent anything Lego, that it was not the thing you associate with Lego. And in some people's minds, sure. It's not the building system that you grew up with. It's not the building system that Lego itself is known for. But they did make it. And it is a toy in the same way that Lego is a toy. Yes, Lego can be a lot of things. I've argued that it could be a toy, an art medium, it could be a learning tool, it can be a whole bunch of things. Even Lego itself knows that. They have Lego Education, they have Lego Serious Play, which is literally putting it in a corporate workshop environment. You can take that in so many directions. But that's the fundamental essence of Lego for a lot of these systems. It's compatible. It's interchangeable. It's a thing that you can continuously, adapt. Maybe not the wooden Lego, like I said in the beginning, but that was the beginning. That was when they just knew, hey, we're going to be a toy company. We didn't know that we were going to be a toy company with interlocking parts that, things weren't specially made as it one item, that you could take the same thing and recreate it in something else. But that's the majority of Lego history would dictate that, that's what they're known for, is building toys. They still do things that are different from that with Dots and Scala and Clickets, Galador, Bionicle. That's how it goes. And they will continue doing things like that. Mindstorms, Lego Fusion, Dimensions, Super Mario, the electronic aspect of it. Life of George. I remember that I was listening to a podcast several years ago in which they broke down that there were a couple of different things that Lego had tried, like proposed ideas of getting into the electronic atmosphere. The same way that they would have tried for the action figures or the dolls or any other, the preschool aspect, with Duplo or Quattro or Primo. So, they were like, well, how do we make the essence of Lego, the building experience that we know, a part of electronics, like video games, and other, forms of media? I mean, Lego art now exists. Even though essentially they've done that for a long time, or you can do that in any way for a long time. There are mosaics that Lego created back in the day in the mid 2000s. There was something made in the early 2000s. They had, base plates have always existed, so that gives an easy frame of canvas. They've had mosaics in the Lego stores. They create the Lego logo out of various pieces. The Lego movie, somebody had to build a model of that and could be considered an art form, a structure. The UCS stuff is art. What was I getting at with this? Lego dips itself into all different categories because even in a building system, it can still represent them. It can still be creative. It can still be adaptable. It can still be remarkable. So I'm actually, again with this thing, I'm actually going to bring us back to something that I had said as a 10-year-old. I just have to find the right post for it. There we go. Lego is not just a toy. It is an idea, a set of values, and a long-term commitment to empowering children to use their creativity and build with their imagination. I said this on video for a 5th grade school project, and I have since then been able to digitize this and upload it to YouTube because it was on VHS originally. And I'm wearing what? A Bionicle shirt. Bionicle should be treated as much a system of Lego as Technic, as any of the other examples that we saw earlier today. Regardless of the success of the system itself, people use Snap. I've seen people in the past couple of years use Snap pieces with other ones or building models themselves. I've seen people use Galador pieces to build new figures in different ways than what was intended, but still bringing something new to the table, bringing something that hasn't been seen before. And I say not just a toy because it's usually thought of, yes, as a toy, and I said a lot of these examples is this Lego? Yes, I did say the qualification was it was a toy. But I'd say like the original intent of it, when it first came out, is a toy. On the box, you will see that it says building toy. But you can still make it into other things if you wanted to. You could probably even make the Scala and Dots into real jewelry, and people have. They've taken Lego and put it into jewelry, like I said, with the metal chains and other materials as wrapping around for a necklace or a bracelet. That's fine. I actually still do, but I used to wear a Lego hat. It was just a big plastic shell that was put on top of a standard trucker hat, on the brim and on the face of it. And you could attach Lego pieces on there. I put a dinosaur on there. I've walked around with a Lego dinosaur on my head. Probably not for long because it needs to be reinforced a little bit, but you still could. I'm looking right now at an alarm clock in the shape of Emmett from the Lego Movie. I don't know what else to say here. I think that's a good way to wrap it up. So, you know what? That's actually a good quote. I didn't write it into Bizarre Lego already, but I want to. I really want to. So with that being said, when it comes to the 90th anniversary poll, I've been on the stance that yes, I voted for Bionicle. It would be cool to see a Bionicle set, as a commemoration. Even if it's just of the theme, even if it's outside of the 90th anniversary of Lego. Does Bionicle represent the history of Lego? No. But does Explorians represent the history of Lego? Not as much. A lot of the categories that were in the poll do not fully represent the history of Lego, unless you go to something that's been evergreen, like town, city. I mean, yeah, they're pretty much the same thing. Space, in the broad term. Or pirates, maybe. Because pirates by themselves kind of presents its own aesthetic that's been, recycled for many years. What's the other one? I just forgot it. Castle, which again, can change over time, but has been long-standing as, a broad term. But those are basic concepts. Those are things that any toy company could produce in some form. Lego does have its own feel to it, especially in the interchangeable, building blocks of it. And there are definitely different waves of it in which this castle piece is now in a different color and I could use it in this other structure, In something that commemorates the 90th anniversary of Lego, I'm sure that Lego itself has already figured out, okay, yes, we already know that we're going to make it big because we're presenting about the company at large. That's different than the 60th year of the brick and 40th year of the minifigure that they had only a couple years ago in 2018. That's about what we know as Lego system. That doesn't represent... It represents a lot of Lego history, but not completely on its own. And not for this entire run. Because you have the wooden era before it. And you have plenty of other examples in between it, plastic or not. There were some of them that you could use with felt or paper. And even to this day, I think you still have some that are adapted with felt, like in the Trolls line. Trolls World Tour sets. I may not be a fan of the movie. I may not be a fan of the franchise. I don't care to watch them. But I kind of do want... I do have one Troll set so far, but I kind of want to get another one or two because of those features. That it's moving into a different thing than it had to. Did they have to make felt with it? No. Did they have to make fabrics with it? No. But I commend them for that. And that's something that they had done, over time. I know that Bizarre Lego's been on a hold for a long time, but I almost feel like this is the best time for me to publish it. I mean, I still have a lot of it to still work on, hence why it's been taking a long time. But I also, have taken a back burner to it several times. I had some doubts about it being useful as a book, and I honestly believe now I could go back in time and say, hey, this is going to matter in like a few short years. Make it, and make it the best you can. Because it's going to present something that not a lot of people are aware of and would be interested to learn more about. So, I'm going to... No, I'm not doing that again. So I'm just going to pop down here. Where was it? Somewhere in here is the picture that I was going to find. I don't even remember whether I posted some of these. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't remember some of these. Yeah, that's a good picture. I'm gonna save that. Oh yeah, here's a good example of the Lego brand being very influential and part of the pop culture and part of mainstream media, that they even have a rolling cookie cutter. That they have all these little kitchen containers. They still have cookie cutters. Not the exact same shape as those, but still something like them. An egg timer, because people like the look of Lego. Cutlery. Wow, yeah. I think it's because I found an old catalog with some of these. So you have bookends, like for your bookshelf. You don't even have to have Lego books on there. This Pro Builder box I do own. Or no, I'm confusing it with another one. There's a larger one that almost looks like a tackle box. Like all these little sections that pop out of it a bit further than this one does. Collector's Guide. Oh yeah, that's the catalog that I saw it in. I'm not saying that everything is Lego, but I could tell you that a lot of things are Lego. Even off-brand stuff. People associate as Lego because, again, it's the Rolls Royce of building toy systems, of building toy products, You got Mega Bloks, BTR, the dollar store stuff like Block Tech, Lepin, people would identify as Lego on a broad term. I can't argue against that, except for the fact that Lego did not make it in-house. You know, it was not their brand thing. But it works the same way that Lego does. And that's going to happen everywhere. That's going to happen in any industry because that's how the world works. You know, you're going to have a whole bunch of things that are going to try to meet the same criteria and do something different with it, you know? So I think I've said more than enough. I think it was interesting to go through this. Hope you'll enjoy this. If there are any contradictions or anything you'd like to ask about what I spoke about today, leave them in the comments down below. I'll be happy to reply to them. I'll correct myself if I said anything erroneous. And if I have to explain anything further, I'll be happy to do so. I'm going to try to get back to work on Bizarre Lego and filling a role that other people believe in. And I do appreciate that people are believing in it. Take care. Be safe. Peace, love, fun.